now. It's like, even just going to, regardless of the price, to 2.5-hour hockey game. Young kids usually don't even want to do that type of stuff. They want to, hey, what's being said on Twitter and all that. So it's kind of the Twitter universe that we're in now. Even articles, it's like, just tell me in 120 or whatever it is. What is Twitter now?
140 or 280?
280. Just tell us in 280 characters what the heck happened in the game.
Well, you talked a lot last year about, this rebuild. And I think a lot of us, after the season got going, realized you got to blow it up and get it going again. Yeah. And so I get that.
But I will say this, just to interrupt you, Mr. Calvert. I remember sitting here. I remember actually almost like looking you in the eye at one podcast, Vicky, and telling you, like, rebuilds are painful. And we're seeing it now. Like, most rebuilds would still be a tweak or two. You trade Nino and Coyle, you trade Granlund and Nino, you trade two of them. They are blowing this thing up right now. And we're seeing the repercussions. If you don't get, studs, immediate studs back that are molded hockey players. I'm not saying that Donato and Fiala can't get there, but they are still young. They have to develop into that. So
that leads into the question, I'll give Fenton somewhat the benefit of the doubt. Mm-hmm. He's new. Mm-hmm. Is he learning from his mistakes, or is he just too arrogant?
Well, no, I think that he realizes, some of the things that he has to do this summer. I really do. Just talking with him the other day, I think he's got a pretty decent sense of where they are right now. But it is back to sort of a lot of the issues that Chuck Fletcher dealt with, where it's like, it's kind of twofold. Like Paul wants to fill the cupboards and, build through young and speed and things like that. But then, you got the pressure upstairs of make the playoffs. So it's like, again, it's like that's why all of a sudden you turn to go and get Phil Kessel. And so that's the one thing, is that they need to come up with a consistent plan here and just kind of go with that. But again, I just, what I worry about is just what is the perception out there amongst agents, players, everything about coming to Minnesota right now. Are they getting the scrap pile, or are they getting actual go-to guys? I mean, that Phil Kessel story I wrote a couple weeks ago is real. I mean, that is what he felt about this team. And another thing is, like the Wild, I'm pretty sure Brock Nelson wanted to play in Minnesota. I'm pretty sure Brock Nelson, through the grapevine, had heard that Minnesota was going to come after him. So here's a kid that wants to play here and knows they're going to come after him, and he still decided before free agency to go re-sign in Long Island. That's another red flag. So now it's like you're not getting the Kessels, who's kind of played hockey here at college and is essentially from here, and you're not getting the guy that is from here that wants to play here. And so is this this is why I keep on saying, is he going to strike out this summer? Is he, what type of players is he going to be able to get?
And how's Tom Curvers doing?
I texted him today. I haven't heard back yet, but hopefully he's doing well. But I have not. I don't want to say exactly how he's exactly doing until I hear it from him. But I do know that he's he's been out playing golf and things like that, and I assume he's at today's meetings and things like that. So
and answer your earlier question. No, there is no relation. But one of the better videos you'll see on YouTube or on the internet is the comparison between soccer and hockey.
Oh yeah,
and it's the soccer players like they're shot, and then Matt Calvert taking one in the teeth and coming back later on and scoring the game-winning goal.
Like Chara. So,
thank you, appreciate it. Hey, Tony Hoaglund handles my insurance, house and automobile. He handles Michael Russo's insurance. He's been a friend of the program and the network for a long time. It's Hoaglund, Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent. He works out of Champlin, but you can work with him wherever you happen to live in the Twin Cities metro.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number one in car insurance since World War II and number one in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
Okay, so this kind of goes off of what the last guy was talking about, but I'm really, really curious about your answer to this. What specifically, player-wise, is it going to take for the Minnesota Wild to finally get there?
Well, I mean, they're not just a couple pieces away, I don't think, anymore. I mean, they've got a lot of work to do. Goaltending, I mean, they've got to get consistent goaltending. That you see is always the constant in these situations. Again, health. I mean, but I kind of said it last week. It's like they love to boast about their depth, but then they basically blame the entire season's destruction on Matt Dumba getting hurt, and that's just not. I think it's accurate, but I don't think that's a sign of a really good team. And then up front, I mean, everybody reverted last year. I mean, everybody. There was not one guy on the roster that had a better season than they did the year before. Coyle, Nino, Granlund. I mean,
except for Dumba.
What's that? Zucker.
Except for
Dumba, who got hurt. Stahl, Doobie, everybody. They've got to figure this out. A big story. I've talked about it a little bit, but a big part of that story today, and again, it's going to be more and more as I continue to develop this. But Paul Fenton is trying to work on the culture of this team. And this has nothing to do with the trades he's made, but he has talked to the leaders. He's trying to get them back to being, great leaders and get this team together again, because it was a fractured locker room this past season, and that's just a fact. Paul has admitted it, and so he has had a call together with Mikko, Zach, and Ryan, and he wants them all on the same page this year and kind of go in there and be ready to help this team win next season. So. And
then just one more question. Mm-hmm. How bad is Granlund leaving going to hurt us?
Well, I think it hurts. It hurts from the standpoint that, like, if you had a Phil Kessel here, who's getting him the puck, it is interesting. I mean, he's gone. Wow, what a save there. He's gone to Nashville, and he really didn't fit in there. And one big reason is I thought Turris was just terrible, and for some reason Laviolette never changed anything up. It was just crazy to me, and never really put Granlund in a position where he got to play with guys like Johansson and Forsberg, and so he just didn't produce there. But I think it's going to hurt. I don't know if Paul realizes how much not having a playmaker here. He's got to figure out a way to get that type of thing. Their center depth really concerns me. And I think he knows that. I mean, he was in Nashville where they really built to try to get better up the middle, and I know that he feels like he's going to have to do that here at some point.
Good questions. Thank you. Appreciate it. Feel free to keep coming up and asking live questions. We do appreciate it. We'll get some Twitter questions here in a moment. When you talk about, fractures in the locker room, is that Granlund, Suter, Parise, Suter, and Koivu as a group not being happy with others, or are there some fissures between those three?
No, I mean, I just think, I don't want to get too much into what I haven't reported, but I just think that together they've all got to get into, they've got to be mature and just come together and realize that the purpose of right now is to win a cup. I mean, their careers are coming, they're hitting the twilight years, especially Mikko, who's got 1 year left. And is almost certainly not going to be re-signed here. So if he wants to continue in the NHL, he's going to have to go somewhere else. You want to go out, great. And so the same thing with the other two. I mean, they're both, Zach turns 35 on July 28th. I mean, this guy wants to win a cup. And right now this team's far from that. And so I get why these guys are frustrated. Zach, Ryan, these guys are frustrated. And what it's affected is just overall kind of, being, part of a group that is all about winning and inclusiveness. I brought up the subject on Barrero a couple of weeks ago of something that bothered a lot of people inside the organization and bothered me when I saw it. But and to Zach and Ryan and to Zach and Nico's credit, they were not. To protect them, they were not on the road trip. But in Game 82, night before the end of the season, Nico Sturm and Matt Robson were essentially on their own. Didn't go to dinner with any teammates. And I just think that was a sign of like how did teammates not even just I'm not talking about just Stahl and Suter. I'm talking about any teammate. A youngster even. How do you not invite a guy playing his second NHL game on his first ever road trip and Matt Robson, who's just kind of along for the ride the last couple of weeks of the season, out to dinner? And I saw them leaving the hotel, and I'm like, what is going on here? And that's the type of thing that, I just think that players need to be more aware on this team, and it's really up to those three guys to kind of bring them along. Same thing. I mean, and we talk about the guys with the letters, but Spurgeon, we're talking about, Stahl. These guys are all part of that leadership core. And but again, even the youngsters, like, it just was weird. It was a weird sight, but I think very much embodied some of the problems with this team at times. So,
Chris.
Well, you guys just touch upon almost the exact subject I was going to ask, but how do Boudreau and Fenton specifically address those issues?
Well, I mean, again, Fenton's tried, but Boudreau's tried, and now it's just up to those players. And I think they've heard the message, but there's a lot of dynamics right now, Chris. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on that we'll probably get out at some point.
But you feel that it was the last week or two was just a bleep show, and
what's that?
You kind of categorize it like it's everything fell apart the last week.
With the Kessel stuff, or you?
No, I'm talking about the last 2 weeks of the season.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I mean, they were in a bad spot. I mean, you got no Dummy, you got no Koivu, and all of a sudden Parisi freaking tears his meniscus. It's like you can't even make up sometimes the stuff that happens with this team. I mean, so, yeah, things fell apart at the end of the season. There's no doubt about it. So
we're at the Tin Shed in Savage. You can find the website at tinshedmn.com. Just look up Tin Shed Savage on Twitter to check out their menu, their beer selection, their drink selection, location. Cool place to hang out. We appreciate them hosting this show. Again, next live show is June 26th, 7 o'clock at Tin Shed. And we are going to draw for 2 wild tickets. You need to be here to win. You need to also be here to enter. Also want to thank Bite Squad. If you're not near Tin Shed and you want good food, Bite Squad, bitesquad.com. Download the Bite Squad app. Upload your information. Makes ordering everything easy. They deliver breakfast anywhere, lunch anywhere, dinner anywhere, late night, restaurant quality food. They also have a $5.99 deal per month where you get free delivery within a 4-mile radius for the month, which ends up being a good deal if you like having good food delivered to your place. So thanks to Bite Squad, thanks to Tin Shed. Fire away.
Of our 200 shows, how many do you think Vicky and Clyde have been to?
197.
Yeah. God, that's so...
I gave them a punch card.
Yeah.
They have 197 punches on it, and they're going to win a handshake from Michael Russo.
No wonder Vicky walks into these podcasts looking mortified. But she keeps on coming for more. So...
She's trying to prove something. We just don't know what.
Yeah.
Well, I assume Vicky was in prison for those 3 other shows, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I know you didn't want to touch on that.
She doesn't like to talk about it.
Actually, the one that's in prison is Clyde, who's being dragged here.
He's a good sport about it, though.
Yeah.
I held back on this because I assumed it would be asked by now, because to me it was one of the biggest stories you've dropped as in recent memory. But would you mind telling the entire story about Mark Langston?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's funny. I mean, it really is exactly what I said in that tweet to Phil Hughes. But Phil Hughes had a really funny... I'm friends with Phil. And we were in fantasy leagues together and things like that. He really is just a great guy. And he found out, somebody on Reddit, a kid when he was 21, pointed out that Phil Hughes basically didn't sign a ball for him on his 21st birthday. And Phil saw this like 8 or 10 years later. Somebody tweeted it to him to show him this Reddit thread, and he felt awful and worked his magic on Twitter to find out how to get this guy that's now probably like 31, a baseball. But regardless, I wrote back to Phil Hughes, and it's true. I used to go to Shea Stadium all the time. We used to go to all the batting practices, Mets, but I was a huge Expo fan, huge. And so whenever they'd play the Expos, we'd show up early, and I'd want to meet guys like Tim Wallach and Tim Raines and Gary Carter and Randy Johnson, things like that. But Mark Langston was there once, and we were behind the third base dugout, which at Shea was the visiting dugout, and he was signing autographs, and I was probably 10 years old, and I threw him a baseball when he wasn't looking. And boom, plunked it right on the face, and he looked like he was going to kill somebody. But then he picked up the baseball and he signed it I'm not exactly religious, but he signed it Mark Langston, and then put the John whatever. whatever that. I probably
316
offended like half
whatever
the audience, but yeah. So like, yeah.
Michael, if they aren't offended by now, we're pretty
exactly.
safe.
So I had that baseball for